Today I'm going to show you how to replace a worm block on the Paramount MX Plus. So first and foremost, you will need a 5/32 wrench. This is a pro tip one that helps grab the screws a little bit better. So first you want to make sure that your axis that you're changing the worm block for is in balance mode. So both on the lock knob and on the 2-position switch. There's 4 1032 screws that need to be removed. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes a little wiggle helps get the cover off. Next, you want to make sure to cover up this hole so that any of the screws, if they get dropped, they don't fall down into your declination shaft. Some people will use a piece of tape. I'm just going to tape. You can tape a piece of paper, you can just use straight up tape. Any type of tape will be fine. I've got some electrical tape here to cover it up. You want to get back as far as you can because the hole goes all the way back to here. So this is the part that I use the pro tip one for. So there's also 4 screws holding this cover to this cover. I usually start with the bottom ones. So there's one right here. See, grabs the screw. And there's one back here. And there's one up here. And then one up here. Now once you start loosening this one, you have to remember the worm block is going to start coming loose. So use your other hand to hold it in place while you get this other screw out. Or use a friend. Now pull it straight out, and then you have the sensor cable here is plugged in. You want to make sure to unplug that and stick it back down through here. And then now you have to also remove the tape. Try and save it for later because you'll want to make sure not to drop the screws in there while you are replacing it. Now on either axis, you have to pull up to get there. So on most of these, there should be a loop in here and then it will be zip tied into a loop, so then that way most of that's up there. You just have this one plug to unplug, and now your worm block is removed. You can replace it with the next one and just reverse the steps. Okay, so to replace your worm block, first you want to make sure that you plug in your motor. Next you want to plug in your homing sensor. There's 2 ways to do that. You can plug it in after you install it, or you can plug it in before. I have little fingers, so afterwards is easier, but if you don't, it can be easier to do it before. So you have to feed it through this little hole here, and then plug it in. Now, this is a part where you can easily pinch cables, so make sure that you're watching and ensuring that you don't do that. But make sure that your motor connector, which is pretty big, does get put back into its hole. Now, the worm block should just fit right in there. Make sure again you're not pinching any of these cables, either down here or along any of these sides. So now that he's seated in the little standoffs, You want to use your pro tip or a friend to help you to do this. Now I usually get the screws in first before I tighten them all down, just to make sure that it's centered in all the holes. Again, if you're not using a pro tip, make sure you cover this hole so that you don't drop any of the screws down into your deck tube. You can get them out if you do, but it's not an easy process. Alright, so now that I have all 4 of them in, I just go back and tighten them all up. Then you'll want to make sure that your cables are all down in your deck tube so that you can replace your worm block cover. Again, this should also be up on the indent so you're in the balance position and for the 2 position switch. Making sure not to pinch any cables. Sometimes the motor cables will get in the way of your little lock knob, so make sure that it's out of the way. This one's not. Again, before you tighten up anything down, make sure you don't have any cables pinched all along this edge.